But first, a traditional hard candy that stood the test of time.
You know, sometimes the old ones are the best. Take these Peppermint Puffs. They're a candy store classic, and they're still made to a recipe from 1953, when Arnold's Candies first opened its stores.
Partners Greg Dauphin and Kyle Robertson only bought the company 2 years ago, but they still value tradition.
Yes, we've made some changes. We've upgraded the facility. We've added some equipment to make the candy more consistent, but the actual recipe, that's not something we've changed.
To keep that recipe the exact same way it was meant to be, that's what we're going to do in the future.
In a large copper kettle, the recipe starts with 36 kilograms of pure cane sugar, 30 grams of cream of tartar, which stops the sugar from crystallizing, and 2 liters of water.
Then it's all mixed together and heated over an open flame, just like they did in the 1950s. The copper distributes the heat evenly, making sure the mixture doesn't burn as it heats up.
Once the candy reaches 152 degrees Celsius, it gets taken off the flame and poured onto a cooling table.
That already looks amazing, but it's still too hot to touch.
That's why these candy makers use gloves and tools as they start to fold the candy.
As we're cooling the candy on the cooling slab, it's important that some parts of the candy don't become cooler than others. So you constantly fold it to keep it at an even temperature and cool it evenly. During the day, we probably fold the candy maybe 73,000 times, something like that. It's a lot.
And who does all the work? Paul and Sean, the grandsons of the original founders, James and Mabel Arnold.
We've been here since we were actually little kids, watching our grandparents make candy.
And making candy is an art form, and I don't know many kids our age who actually can make candy like we do.
It's pretty much just a lost art.
A 3-kilogram portion is set aside to make the red stripe. A small amount of red food coloring is weighed out, then added to the molten candy.
Once the red has been started by hand, the candy is placed on a machine called a puller, which stretches and pulls the mixture for about 3 minutes to work the color through consistently.
Pulling the candy also adds air, which helps give the candy its light texture.
Look what the large pulling machine can do to the rest of the candy batch.
It's magic. We actually have a spell for it. Just kidding. The same pulling machine, as it introduces the air into the product, the color turns from the yellow that you see into the white. So the more air, the brighter white that the candy gets.
Well, I call that magic. As the puller works on the candy for 8 minutes, distilled peppermint oil is worked in for that distinctly minty flavor. The exact amount is a closely guarded secret.
After all that hard work pulling to and fro, this candy has definitely earned its stripes.
Ah, good one. The red stripe is divided into 6 pieces and worked by hand onto the white base.
The result is a huge 35-kilogram peppermint puff, though it's not looking very puffy at the moment.
To get from one giant piece of candy to thousands of tiny candies, you need a machine called a batch roller. It rotates the candy back and forth, whittling it down to a more manageable and edible size. Although it's automated, Paul ensures that the roller is properly fed.
The whole thing has to have muscle. If you don't have muscle, you don't have peppermint puffs.
We do have quite a few giants that work here. That's important, because making candy is really hard.
It's all fairy tales with those two. The end of the candy rope is fed into a set of 4 brass rollers known as the candy rope sizer machine.
Now that's a mouthful.
As it passes through each wheel, the rope gets smaller and smaller. Once the rope is uniform size, it is fed into the cutter.
Well, it's called the cutter, but the candy rope comes out as a candy chain, with the individual pieces still attached. It isn't until they tumble in this barrel sieve that the chain breaks apart into individual pieces. As they tumble and turn in this gentle giant, any sharp edges are knocked away, leaving a smooth, suckable candy.
The peppermint candies pop out of the barrel and take a well-earned rest on a long cooling conveyor. Cool as you like, they drop into drying trays, which get stacked and stored so the candies can cure for at least 24 hours.
The longer it sits, the more moisture from the air it picks up, the softer it gets. So if you really wanted one, I could make it for you this morning and give it to you tomorrow. But to do a really good job, give me about 2 weeks.
Once the curing is complete, the candy is measured into 9-kilogram bulk boxes and palletized 48 cartons to a pallet.
Now it's ready to be shipped out to customers all over North America. How do these two like to enjoy their peppermint puffs?
Probably after a hot cup of cocoa.
Maybe right after a workout. Get a good lift in, get a peppermint puff after that.
Whether you like to huff before a peppermint puff, these classic candies have certainly earned their stripes.